Hello, history buffs, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're rejourneying back in time to one of history's most notorious and misunderstood institutions. The Spanish Inquisition. For over 3.5 centuries, its shadow loomed over Spain and its colonies. But what was it, really? Was it as brutal as popular culture makes it out to be? Let's separate the facts from the myths and uncover the true story. It all begins in 1478. Spain has just been unified under the Catholic monarch, Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile. But their new kingdom wasn't religiously uniform. For centuries, Christians, Jews, and Muslims had coexisted on the Iberian Peninsula in a state known as the Asterisk. But by the late 15th century, that era of relative tolerance was over. The monarchy wanted one kingdom, one law, and one faith. Catholicism. The primary concern was the Asterisk conversos, Asteriscus, who had converted to Christianity, often under immense social and political pressure. The crown and the church were deeply suspicious. Were these conversions genuine? Or were these new Christians secretly practicing Judaism behind closed doors? To root out this perceived heresy, Ferdinand and Isabella sought permission from the Pope to establish their own Inquisition, one controlled by the Spanish crown, not by Rome. This was a crucial distinction, making the Spanish Inquisition a powerful tool of both religious and state control. So, how did it actually work? Imagine you're living in a Spanish city in the early 1500s. The inquisitors arrive and announce an edict of grace. This is a grace period, typically 40 days, where you can come forward, confess your sins of heresy, and receive a relatively light penance. It sounds merciful, right? But there's a catch. You were also expected to denounce others. This created a climate of fear and suspicion, where neighbors informed on neighbors, and old grudges could be settled with a simple, anonymous accusation. Once the Edict of Grace expired, the real terror began. The Inquisition operated on the basis of these anonymous denunciations. You could be arrested in the middle of the night, your property confiscated to pay for your own imprisonment, and you wouldn't even be told who accused you or what you were accused of. Your trial would be held in secret. The proceedings were deliberately confusing and drawn out, sometimes lasting for years. The goal wasn't necessarily justice. It was to secure a confession. And that brings us to the most infamous aspect of the Inquisition: torture. Now, it's important to add some context here. Torture was a standard legal practice in secular courts across Europe at the time. By the standards of the era, the Spanish Inquisition's use of torture was surprisingly regulated. It wasn't supposed to be used to punish, but only to extract a confession when there was strong evidence of guilt. It couldn't draw blood, cause permanent injury, and technically, a person could only be tortured once. However, the Inquisitors had a clever workaround for that last rule. They could suspend a torture session and resume it days later, claiming it was all part of the same single session. Common methods included the asterisk potro asterisk, or the rack, and the asterisk toca asterisk, which simulated drowning, a method we would later call water. While perhaps more regulated than elsewhere, it was undeniably a brutal and terrifying tool of coercion. After months or years of imprisonment, questioning, and potential torture, a verdict would be reached. The sentences were announced at a massive public ceremony called an asterisk. Auto de fe, asterisk, which means act of faith. These were huge, theatrical events designed to awe the population and reinforce the power of the church and state. Thousands would gather in the main plaza to watch a solemn procession of the accused, who were forced to wear a penitential garment called a asterisk. Sanbenito asterisk. The design of the asterisk Sanbenito asterisk indicated your crime and fate. Yellow robes with crosses meant you had repented and would be reconciled with the church, often after serving a long prison sentence. But if your asterisk Sanbenito asterisk was painted with flames and demons, it meant you were an unrepentant heretic, relaxed to the secular authorities to be burned at the stake. This was the ultimate punishment, reserved for those who refused to recant. So, who were the primary targets of this vast machinery of persecution? Initially, as we discussed, It was the asterisk. Conversos, asterisk. The Inquisition was obsessed with the concept of limpieza, the sangre or purity of blood, and anyone with Jewish ancestry was under constant suspicion. Entire communities were shattered by accusations and trials. Following the final conquest of the Muslim Kingdom of Granada in 1492, the focus expanded. Muslims were given a choice: convert to Christianity or leave. Those who converted became known as asterics, moriscos asterisk, and they soon became the Inquisition's next major target. The Inquisitors suspected them of secretly practicing Islam, scrutinizing their customs, their language, and even their diet for any sign of their former faith. Then, in the 16th century, a new threat emerged: Protestantism. The Reformation was sweeping across Europe, and the Spanish crown was determined to prevent it from taking root in Spain. The Inquisition ruthlessly hunted down anyone suspected of harboring Lutheran or Calvinist ideas. Possession of a forbidden book could be a death sentence. While Protestantism never gained a major foothold in Spain, the Inquisition's efficiency in suppressing it was a key reason why. It also pursued other perceived deviants, from those accused of witchcraft and bigamy to individuals who simply made a blasphemous remark in a tavern. No one was truly safe. The Inquisition wasn't just confined to Spain. It followed the Spanish Empire across the globe, establishing tribunals in Mexico, Peru, and the Philippines. In the Americas, its primary role was to ensure the doctrinal purity of the European colonists and to prevent the spread of heretical ideas among the newly converted indigenous populations. It acted as a moral watchdog for the entire Spanish world. So, let's talk about the numbers, because this is where a lot of modern myths come from. For a long time, the Spanish Inquisition was seen as a uniquely barbaric institution that killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people. This image was largely crafted by Spain's political and religious rivals, especially Protestant nations like England and the Netherlands, in a propaganda campaign known as the Black Legend. Modern historical research, based on the Inquisition's own meticulous records, has painted a more nuanced picture. Over its 350-year history, historians estimate that the Inquisition tried around 150,000 people. The Spanish Inquisition finally came to an end in 1834. After more than 350 years, the Age of Enlightenment, liberal ideas, and political turmoil had made its existence untenable. Its legacy, however, is complex and enduring. It succeeded in its primary goal of enforcing Catholic orthodoxy in Spain, but at a terrible human cost. It led to the expulsion or forced conversion of Spain's entire Jewish and Muslim populations, a demographic and cultural loss that had significant economic consequences. It stifled intellectual and scientific inquiry for centuries, as people feared that any new idea could be branded as heretical. The Spanish Inquisition remains a chilling example of what can happen when religious dogma and state power combine to enforce conformity. It's a story of faith, fear, and power, and a powerful reminder of the importance of religious freedom and tolerance. Its history serves as a warning, showing us the dark path that societies can walk down when they begin to police the thoughts and beliefs of their citizens. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into a dark chapter of history. What are your thoughts on the Spanish Inquisition? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video informative and want to learn more about the past, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.